i el desenvolupament de competències. Ha investigat, ha escrit, ha fet un gran nombre de presentacions sobre aquestes qüestions i també ha aportat la seva àmplia experiència com a consultora a governs i organitzacions internacionals multilaterals i treballa molt activament per aconseguir la igualtat de les dones a Àfrica. Hem aprofitat que estava aquí, a Barcelona, perquè recentment ha estat guardonada amb el Premi Nat 2019 per la seva lluita a favor de la diversitat, la inclusió sociocultural i de gènere en la divulgació, l'aprenentatge i la pràctica de la ciència a Àfrica. Doncs veureu que aquest auditori ens acull, presenta millores importants a nivell audiovisual, que encara estem ajustant, però amb una incorporació d'una nova pantalla digital i també la millora dels sistemes acústics. Hem tingut aquí el patrocini de Cèlex, als quals els agraïm que ens hagin ajudat a les millores de les nostres instal·lacions. Doncs bé, escoltarem molt atentament els parlaments també de la Núria Castell, que ens informarà del seguiment del cicle al Palau Macaya, que hem impulsat amb el nom de Dona i Tecnologia, un tàndem de futur, i per descomptat a la nostra convidada, a qui agraeixo infinitament l'acceptació per estar avui amb nosaltres. Tindrem ocasió de poder anar parlant-ne més entre tots amb una copa de cava al final que ens espera després d'aquest acte. Així que gràcies i sense més dilació ja començarem aquest acte. Gràcies. Sembla, Núria, que ara vas tu.
Bon dia. Jo soc molt petiteta i aquestes coses sempre... Bon dia a tothom, benvinguts, benvingudes. Welcome, thank you very much, Elisabeth, for accepting the invitation. Faig dos comentaris en català i després passaré a l'anglès, que la presentació està en anglès. El que m'han demanat és que us expliqui una mica com està progressant el cicle que estem portant al Palau Macaya i que, de fet, és la conferència que tenim avui és un efecte col·lateral d'aquest cicle. Jo vaig contactar amb la Datxa perquè vingués a un seminari. Ella no podia, però em va dir: vindrà l'Elisabeth Rasekoala a recollir un premi, per què no feu alguna cosa amb ella? I ho hem fet. I per tant vam trobar aquesta oportunitat de reinaugurar l'auditori amb una conferència molt interessant. Com veieu en pantalla, el cicle es titula Dona i Tecnologia, un tàndem de futur i és conseqüència de totes les accions que l'any passat comença ja a desplegar la UPC i que segurament us heu sentit, l'Aquí estem i totes les activitats que s'estan desplegant a partir de la UPC. Passo a l'anglès. Dona i Tecnologia, un tàndem de futur, Women in Technology, a Tandem for the Future, is a program that is a collaboration between Technical University of Catalonia and Obra Social La Caixa with Palau Macaya. This program, or the idea of this program, is to create, as is the usual way to work in Palau Macaya, is to create a space of discussion between people interested in a specific topic. In this case, is discussing about the situation of women in all the technology areas. Especially we have in the workshop, we have discussed about in each workshop, depending on the topic, about the current situation, which is the challenge in this situation for the women, and try to propose some actions to change the situation in this particular area. I don't know if this...
I'm really passionate about climate change. I'm worried that there won't be enough fresh water for everybody.
My interest is to find a cure for cancer because my mom had it. seeing stuff like this,
And I think I want to be able to help do that.
it makes me feel like unstoppable.
That makes no sense to me. Like, why would that be? There's always going to be someone that says, like, no, you can't do it. I think I can. I want my name to be there and be like, Marley is the one who helped stop this climate change issue.
I will discover a cure for breast cancer.
Well, this is a small advertisement for Microsoft, sorry. But I think, well, this is, come on. So this is the motivation why we start a lot of actions at UPC, and in particular this program. The activities of the program, we started in January with an initial conference, which was the opening of the program. The program has 3 blocks, one on talking about education, another one discussing about the situation of the women in the labor world, and the third one dealing about some specific questions related with society. And we will have a final conference in December and the 3rd. The initial conference was given by Karma Torres. It's a well-known senior researcher, internationally well-known. And she gave a nice conference talking about the relation between robotics and humanity and how this approach of the humanities to the robotics draws the attention of the female students and female researchers. So this is some point that could help to improve the presence of women, in this case, in the robotics area. Then we had 4 workshops. Each one was related with a specific education level, primary, secondary, whatever. And in each workshop, we had about 20-25 people, and all was for invitation. So it means that this block we had about 100 people working by invitation on these workshops, and then we had the final closing session. For the final closing session, we invited Tonya Blowers, and we had a panel where one person of each workshop present the results of the workshops. And so we made a public general session discussing about education at all levels. Tonya Blowers gave a conference talking about the importance of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics for education, especially for women and especially in the development world. Tonya Blowers came from the Organization for Women in Science for the Development World. It's a very, very interesting conference. Second block, we are just finishing. In fact, the 4 workshops have already done. One was about talking about the presence of the women in private companies. Second one was about public administration. Then the situation of women as entrepreneurs, and which is especially in the technological area. And the last one was about university and research. And the closing session is next week. So don't forget, next week you have a new appointment, 20th. And in this case, we will have a conference by Eva Fabri and also a panel where one person for each workshop, again, will explain the conclusions of each workshop, and then we will have some public discussion. Eva Fabri is the director of the European Center for Women in Technology, and her talk will be about this 4th industrial revolution and how this impact, good or not impact, with the situation of the women in this area. Next block will be after summer, so we need some time to rest and some holidays. So the third group of workshop will be in October and November, and we will have a closing session in the middle of November. So there is, for the moment, no information on this. And the final conference will be given by Lenita Freidenbach from Stockholm University. I don't have the title, but the topic of the conference will be talking about something which is sometimes criticized, which is the quotas. We need to use the quota system to push the presence of the women in some places. She is also expert in the political area also, so I think that the conference again will be very interesting. So this is the summary, so this, just to give an overview, and remember that we are running this program for the whole year, and after this summary, and now what? Now it's time for Elisabeth Rasekoala. As already the rector mentioned, she's the president of African GON, with this network for popularization of science and technology and science communication in Africa, and also the lot of activities that she is doing related with this dissemination of this education of the society, and also she is very involved with development, sustainable development, and a lot of things doing, especially for her country, which is very, very, very important. But she's really an international person, and this is why she received the prize from the museum. So I think that the best we can do is just to give the floor to Elisabeth and listen to you. Thanks.
Buenos días a todos. And I must say, it's good to see so many men in the room, because one of the kind of things we talk about when we talk about women's issues and gender equality, can I put this here? Yeah. Okay. Is that we find that we're talking to ourselves. There's usually no men in the room. And we are not the problem. We know what needs to be done. How do we get to talk to the men so that they're no longer the problem, they are now part of the solution? So for the men who have been brave enough to come here, give yourself a hand. Well done. Yes. Because it's only when we talk together as women and men, and we share and we move away from the blame game, whose fault it is, who's not doing what, that is how we can move forward with shared understandings to be able to change, not just women in STEM, but to change society. Because we must remember, why are we doing it? We might talk about STEM, but why STEM? And why society? If there was no society, we wouldn't be talking about STEM. So we need to start off with saying, why STEM? Before we talk about why women in STEM. Are you with me, folks? Because we seem to get the order the wrong way around. The reason why we need to talk about STEM is because one way or the other, we live in a world where STEM has been constructed at the apex of the pyramid hierarchy of knowledge. It's not the way I would do it, but that is where we are. It's an artificial construct. It's about power. It's about dominance. It's about the monetization of knowledge. That's how we've got here. So if we are in a society that says this body of knowledge sits at the top of society's hierarchy, what does it then mean when women are not there? Are you with me now, the order of this discussion? STEM is up there. It is constructed one way or the other at the pinnacle pinnacle of the knowledge pyramid. That's about status. That's about who has power. The monetization. We women could do with some of that monetization, couldn't we, ladies? Yeah. So, what does it mean when we are not there? What does it mean for society when we are not engaged in that knowledge pinnacle of society? It means many interesting things that society loses. We're sitting here talking about the fourth industrial revolution. I'm sorry to disappoint you guys. I'm not excited about the fourth industrial revolution because as a woman, I am still sitting here with things from the first industrial revolution that we're still looking to make my life better. Where's the robot that's going to do the housework for me so I can have work-life balance? Is anyone going to do that for me? And what does it mean when women's priorities are not on the table? We're talking of artificial intelligence. Do we ever ask, what is it going to do for women? Or is it just about what men want? So it's very important that women's perspectives, women's needs, we make up 50% of the population. We still bear the burden of household chores, making family life work. And we're still not where the decisions are being made. We had some recent disturbing data in terms of medical research, where we're finding out that even when it comes to lab testing of rats for drugs, it is 3 male rats to every 1 female rat. Now, what does that mean in terms of the implications of the efficacy of medical drugs for women compared to men? Even in lab rats, we're still not 50%. I mean, how hard is it to get female rats to test on? Yeah. And when we ask where the women, no, we can't find the women. You can't even find the female rats either. When do you ever find women in anything? You cannot find women with 2 legs. You cannot find female rats. Where are we? What's the problem? We seem to be scarce in every department. In every mammalian species, we are scarce. Isn't that wonderful how scarce we are? But when it comes to do the drudge work, we are very easy to find. Aren't we? We're very easy to find. So, how do we move this forward in terms of women in STEM? We need to move this forward on some critical levels. We need to start the conversation, and I'm glad you're doing that, much earlier with young girls. Because it's about images, it's about the negative things that they imbibe from society. I was very fortunate as a young girl growing up, and I didn't realize how fortunate I was until I started interacting with women. My father, who by the way is a lawyer, nothing to do with STEM, he encouraged all of us, his daughters and sons, to go into STEM. So there's 6 of us, 4 girls and 2 boys, and guess what? We are all in STEM. I remember as a 5-year-old child, my father sitting me down and talking to me about gender equality. My mother was living it. My father was telling me about it. So that enrollment and affirmation is the most powerful thing. How do we get fathers engaged in this exercise at an early age? Because that affirmation from a primary male in your family, all the research shows us, it's almost like you are vaccinated for life. My father vaccinated me for life. Anything negative just went past me. I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. I was sorted. You telling me I can't do it because I'm a girl? I ain't hearing you. Talk to the hand. Talk to the hand, because I ain't hearing you. Because I was sorted out from home. From home. My father gave me that affirmation, that formation. And after that, nobody else counts. No other male could get through. If we can get the fathers to positively help us get to the girls' heads at an early stage, that's 80% of the job done. So I plead with us as women, we really need to look at how we can involve men more in these discussions, in these activities, because it's very important that we do that. So starting young is very important with the young girls. And then moving further up, we have to deal with the image of STEM, women in STEM, because it's a problem, folks. And I say this as a woman in STEM. We live in a very visual world. Social media has made it worse. 5-year-old girls want to look cool on Instagram. I've never been on Instagram, but I know about it. How do we improve the image of women in STEM? Because young girls at that very age, the teenage years, the impressionable years, they look at us and they think, my golly, you guys just are not cool. You don't look glamorous. You don't put on makeup. When last did you see a woman engineer with lipstick on? We don't even wear lipstick. And the young girls are like, if I become one of you, there's no boy that's going to cross the road to say good morning. And I would like a young, handsome man to come across the road to me and say good morning. These are critical issues to young women. The image of women in STEM. We have to take charge of that. We cannot blame the men for that. And I understand some of us are saying, no, yes, I'm here on an equal basis. But please, we're in a visual world. It's about role modeling in every sense. So even on a good day when I don't feel like putting on the makeup and putting on the lipstick, I jolly well put it on because it matters. It matters to that young girl who can see me out there in the market. It matters to the young girl who sees me in the supermarket. And I say, I'm an engineer. And she goes, wow, you don't look like an engineer. And I'm like, job well done. Job well done. We must stop playing to the stereotypes about ourselves. And for me, the most wonderful compliment I get is people say to me, you don't look like an engineer. You don't talk like an engineer. And I'm like, job well done. Let's be the change that we want to see, ladies. Let's break out of those stereotypical boxes because we become the enemy within. And the next thing we then need to look at is institutionalization. And this is why I was so excited by your invitation to this university, because this is the hub of where the institutionalization challenge needs to happen. And I'm glad we have the rector here so that I can add to his workload. Thank you, sir, for being with us. That's leadership, and I appreciate that. So what does institutionalization mean in a university? And the universities have to take a social and public leadership for institutionalization to say that women in STEM, gender equality, is not about Mickey Mouse projects. Please, we have been projects to death, Rector. If I hear of another project on women in STEM, I'm going to scream. We are not a project. We are an institutional framework. Institutional framework. It's about mainstreaming. We are not a little thing to be tagged on at the edge. We are the meat and the drink and the heart and the soul of your institution. Mainstreaming is the way to go. We are not projects. So please, let's stop talking about projects and talking about institutionalization, because that is where sustainability lies. So it's not about whether Nuria is still here in UPC and she's excited in 5 years' time and then she leaves. And guess what? The project dies. And then you speak to the rector then and he goes, there was a time we had this project for women in STEM and there was this lady, Nuria, and then she left and it's like, there you go. That's us. Nuria's gone, the project's gone, it's all over. It mustn't be about Nuria. It mustn't be about a project. It must be about UPC as an institutional framework for women in STEM, for gender equality. It must be the responsibility for everybody, from the rector to the cleaner, to the janitor, to the lecturers. Everybody has to sign up to it. That is where transformation lies. So, Mr. Rector, if you don't get up every morning and you are excited about women in STEM, there's something wrong. You're not doing your job. Mr. Head of Department or Madam Head of Department, if you're not excited, you're not doing your job. That's where it has to go, right to the bone, right to the bone. Everybody in the institution has a responsibility. The students, the lecturers, we're all in it together. And when we talk about institutionalization, we also need to be aware of the conscious and unconscious actions. One of the very mysteries that we don't understand is how we can spend so much time and energy on conscious affirmation, and we forget about our insidious, unconscious, negative actions. And you know the weird thing about us as human beings, you can praise a child 10 times, but that child will only remember the one negative thing you said. Have you noticed that? That's what it's like. And that's the challenge for institutions. I love to tell stories, visual stories. And this is from my direct experience. Many years ago, when I was a lot younger and a lot more foolish, I used to spend some time, not because I was that religious, well, partly because church was a bit boring. So from time to time, I would look after the children during Sunday school to get away from the sermon, the God bless him, the Reverend Father. He did go on. So this day, I was sitting with this new group of children. I would say they were between like 5 to 10 years old. And I thought, how do I break the ice with them? So I thought, let me ask a question. Where is God? Okay, that's a nice icebreaker. Everybody has something to say about where God, even a 5-year-old. And then all the hands went up. Oh, God is in the church, God is in the house, God is in here, God is in wherever. And he was all kind of said, yeah. And then this young kid, brilliant, bright red hair, Jamie, I'll never forget it. I learned so much from that kid. Red hair, freckles. And he put his hand up and he said, God is in the bathroom of my house. I mean, real affirmation. I'm like, you don't say, Jamie. How? I mean, he was so convinced with conviction. I said, now that's a different kind of affirmation. So I said, I hear you, Jamie. Please tell us about it. How do you know that God is in the bathroom of your house? And he said, because, and then he goes into this lovely children sing song, and he says, because every morning when my sister Claire goes into the bathroom and she's there for a long, long time, my daddy bangs on the bathroom door and he says, good God, Claire, are you still in there? Can you see what's going on here? Jamie's parents have spent so much time and effort bringing him to church every Sunday, a conscious active affirmation to teach him that God is about church, is about all those things. And guess what? None of that has registered with Jamie. It's the bathroom business that has registered with Jamie. Yeah. Not all the conscious stuff, it's the unconscious stuff. It's his father frustrated, swearing at the sister who's taking too long in the bathroom. That's what Jamie has taken in. Can you see how we do it? We undermine our positive actions. So when his parents came to pick him up, I thought, I'm going to have fun with this couple. And I explained to them, about Jamie being convinced that God is in the bathroom of the house. And you could see them just working it out to say, my golly, we've been doing all this conscious stuff, and the unconscious has really showed us up. And then the wife gives the husband that look. I swear to God, it must be something that you get on your wedding day when the ring goes on your finger. Every married woman has that look with the husband that says, wait till I get you home, honey. Yeah. So he got that look. But Jamie's story is so fundamental because that's how it happens. Our massive, massive conscious affirmations can be so easily undermined by those negative, unconscious behavior. So you can find an institution that is branded, that is doing all this wonderful work, and all it takes is that one real misogynist, I'm sorry to say, in that institution. Every time a young girl goes by, you are not going to pass this course. You're not going to pass this course. Are you with me, folks? That's that drop of water. That's the Jamie bathroom syndrome. So if I leave you that story as a visualization, because I think stories help us to visualize what the challenge is. And that's really one of the things that we need to do. The other thing that we need to address in institutionalization is to avoid giving women what I call zero-sum games. Because we don't do that to men, but we do that to women. And that really is setting women up to fail. Why can't we have it all? Why do we always have to choose? I want it all. I deserve it all. If a man can have it, why can't I? Why do we always have to choose? Why is it always a zero sum? So institutionalization must not fall into that trap of always saying, well, you can either have this, ladies, or that one, because, we're sorry, we apologize, we can't quite accommodate everything. Why? Why is it always we that have to choose? And men have it all. So when we talk about institutionalization, we need to beware of the traps, because there are traps, so that we're not surprised when we do all those things and it still doesn't work, because we're not aware of all the negatives, all the traps that we have fallen into. And yet we talk nice, we give the rhetoric, we do things. It's very important that we avoid the traps. The other thing that we need to think about is how in this world that we live in, we address the issues of real motivation. There is almost this kind of thinking in STEM, in most of society, that somehow we women are not interested in money. Excuse me? We could do with some. So that when you have discussions about women in STEM and how we motivate women, it's about all those other things. What I call, the love and fresh air, the God and his younger brother. Yeah. But when we're talking to men, it's about the hard stuff. It's about status. It's about money. It's about the bling bling. I want some bling bling. Thank you very much. I want promotion. I want a good salary. That's what I want STEM to give me. Talk to me about that. Don't just tell me about all the other fluffy stuff. I can do fluff on my own. You tell me the other hard stuff. Are you with me here, folks? And we women have to have those conversations with ourselves because we also fall into the trap. Because we have a young generation that's coming up and they're not taking fluff. They're not taking fluff. They want us to talk to them straight. They want that financial independence. They want autonomy. The autonomy that financial independence gives them. Yes, that's the reality. And if we don't put that on the table, we're missing a critical motivational point. Why STEM? Why women in STEM? Why institutionalization? And what is it going to take to make the difference? And I caution us, our sisters, in women's networks and associations, because we seem to fall into two traps ourselves. So we talk about the enemy without, now I'm talking about the enemy within. And you guys, close your ears because you're not supposed to hear our stories. But anyway, we'll share them with you. The enemy within. One of the traps that our women's networks fall into is to get into what I call the perpetual cycle of problematizing our victimhood. Oh, poor women, woe is we. And it becomes a tedious refrain. And we don't offer any constructive solutions, just the British call it the violin. Yeah, that's what we're doing when we get together. That's one trap. That's not helping women. That's demoralizing women. That's not advancing the cause. We're not coming up with anything constructive. And we actually end up driving women away. So that's one trap. The other trap that we fall into is the one of, yeah, we've done it. Any woman can do it too. It's so easy. I have arrived. I have arrived. Dangerous. It was easy for me, therefore it must be easy for every other woman. No. No, sister. That's the other trap. So we get this sort of smug, self-satisfied group of women who get together and, oh yes, haven't we done well? The problem is solved. Women have triumphed. There's blah, blah, yeah. And and we're not talking about growing the field. We're not talking about how we advance young women. We're not talking about changing the narrative. We are smug. We're self-satisfied. We're no longer fighting. We're no longer struggling. And what do we become? We become gatekeepers. The worst kind of gatekeepers of other women's advancement. The worst kind of gatekeepers. What we need to do is to work on that hard middle ground between these two sinkholes. The hard middle ground that is about saying and living and working on how do we celebrate what we have achieved while we still advocate for more and recognize that there is still more to be done, and do so in a constructive, empowering, affirmative way. We have this acronym that we use in South Africa. We call it, some of us are in the business kind of PhD. Do you know what that PhD stands for? Pull her down. Yeah, we're good at that, PhDs. Pull her down syndrome. Yes. That's another trap. That middle road is about saying, how do we affirm each other, support each other, acknowledge, and still constructively advocate for more change, for more advancement. And you can do both. It's a hard road, the middle road, because it's so easy to go on that sinkhole and, oh, isn't it nice just to feel so sorry for ourselves, poor we girls. And then on the other side, isn't it so nice to be so smug and self-satisfied? I have arrived. Look at the Bentley, baby. No, you haven't. Because while you might have the Bentley, your male colleague has a private jet, darling. How are you going to get there? The middle road, sisters, the middle road, the hard middle road is where we need to be. The road less traveled that says, yes, these are the things that we're doing well. This is where we're achieving. This is where there is still work to be done. How do we grow the field? How do we grow the pool? How do we grow the capacity? And how do we do that with men as part of the solution rather than being the problem? We must stop problematizing men. We must turn that narrative into one of co-partnership, co-understanding, co-transformation. Problematizing men is not going to solve the problem because they're still going to be here. Even if the meteor comes down, it's not going to differentiate between men and women. So we need to change our mindset to work on ourselves and to work with men, to institutionalize, to transform the field, and to still be hungry for transformation. Because whatever we've achieved, if every woman is not capable of achieving that, we have not arrived. I have not arrived. I am still fighting. I am still fighting. So let us keep fighting, ladies. And Rector, institutionalize. We are not your project. We are not a project for men. We are an institutional framework because we are your strength. If you make this institution work for women, it will be the most powerful transformative force for your city, for your region, and for your country. I thank you.
Thank you. Yes, is there any question? Any question? Pregunta. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Rasekoala, for your inspiring speech. We have learned a lot. We have written down your wise advice. So we've learned a lot. We are not a project. We have to institutionalize. I have written down. I have also learned that it's much better to have a meeting with the labor union, not with you, at least in this issue. So I think we are going in the good track. I was writing down that we have to advance in gender equality policies. No, we have to advance in gender equality. So that's a good point. So moltes gràcies a tots per estar aquí. Jo crec que hem après molt, sobretot de l'entusiasme i de les cares i dels consells molt savis que ens ha donat a tots i a totes, especialment a totes, i per tant doncs, donar molt ben aprofitat aquesta inauguració. Seguim agraint aquí a les persones que ens han acompanyat i ara tindrem una petita copa de cava per acabar de veure com posar fil a l'agulla. Moltes gràcies.